Shabbat Shalom. Happy Passover, Chag Sameach to everybody, or really it's Chag Sameach. It's hard to say unless you have some spit saved up in the back of your throat. I'm super excited. It's been a really amazing Passover day so far. And then it's also been like chaotic and crazy. I've been like hauling ass all over town as I always do, trying to get my shit together for like ritual feasts. And I'm always like making my feast up until the very last second, which is happening now. My Seder meal is in the oven, and then I have some of the other components on standby, including each adult has to drink 4 glasses of wine. Like, really, to conquer your demons, essentially. I'm going to get into that later, though. So, yeah, I've got a bunch of notes that I just took from my Kabbalah teacher's tidbits of wisdom that he just gave on Passover. And I'm going to talk about our card reading from this morning and the downloads that I've been getting. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the Good Friday, the crucifixion and resurrection, just touch on it a little bit. But yeah, so I'm so excited, and I just have to say that I'm wearing this jumpsuit, which it's so funny because I saw this jumpsuit hanging up and I was just like, I don't know about your jumpsuit. And the jumpsuit was like, just trust me. And I was like, oh, but I can't. And the jumpsuit was like, take me by the hand. And I was like, okay. And it was like, wanted to come into my cart. And then when I tried it on, I was like, do you look good on me? I'm like, I can't figure it out. And like the jumpsuit had to go home with me. And then I started wearing it to like run errands, and like the people, it's a sensation. Like everyone everywhere is like eating up the jumpsuit. Hold on. It's like so ridiculous. Like I feel like a window washer whose outfit was made from like a painter's drop cloth or like 90s school portrait background. It's so stupid. But I'm telling you, I could do anything in this jumpsuit. People have been just fawning over it. Like men, women, children, everyone. It's unbelievable. So that's just the miracle I needed to share before we talk about what's really important. So Passover. Okay, so before Passover is these 12 days of the first 12 days of the Aries new moon cycle, the waxing moon cycle in April. And so, or whenever the Aries new moon starts. So we've been talking about that a little bit over the past week, and I believe that window in time is called Pesach. I know that that's happening like right now. I'm almost certain that is what this 12 days is, but I don't know if there's like a technicality or something that I don't know about, so I don't want to like say that for sure. But it has to do with the power of the mouth and challenges to purify the mouth so that this portal of energy is cleansed, so that when we speak, we speak life and instead of death into any given situation. So we want to speak in a positive way and speak so that we are creating blessings and more goodness and more light. So another thing that I learned today was that, you know how we've been challenged for the first 12 days of April, and like each day coincides with the month, like each of the 12 months, and how your energy will play out. Well, you know, we've been tempted, right? Like lately, because we've been in Lenten times. Well, apparently that specific energy of those 12 days of Aries specifically targets like sexual stuff that needs to be corrected. Maybe negative attachments or sexual addictions, or people that you may have been like sexually addicted to in the past or whatever. These things are highlighted during this time. So if you've been tempted in any way and you've abstained, then good job. And if you haven't, then you have 49 days of challenges coming up where you can endure them and pass the tests, and then correct your soul that way. So basically in Hebrew Kabbalah, the whole point that the soul comes and incarnates on the earth is to go through like this whole grand experience of transcendence and evolution of consciousness and growth and correction. And that is called Tikkun. It's kind of like karma, but it's not like weighing the scales in that kind of traditional sense. It's only similar. So Tikkun is basically like the imprint of your soul, and it has all of your assignments and all of the experiences that you have to happen, like all the challenges that you have to like overcome and transcend in order to correct yourself, to become like go from your shadow self to the higher self. And you have multiple incarnations to do that correction. So each lifetime we come in, we're working on the correction of the soul, which is called the Tikkun. And every major part of your life is orchestrated to exacerbate those weaknesses, and in turn will heighten the strengths that you're given. So everybody's given strengths and talents, and everyone's given weaknesses as well that they have to overcome. And so during different times of year, there are these portals of energy open that are specifically pinpointing certain areas of our Tikkun. Well, I guess that this particular like period of time leading up, so the waxing cycle is leading up to the full moon, where the light and the vessel become one, right? So we can only glean the amount of consciousness from the light that we are aligned with, right? And we, the vessel, the moon, are waxing and waning. We change. We're not consistent, whereas the sun is eternal, right? So we want to have affinity with the light. And in order to do that, we really only do it when we're really aligned with the light and there's nothing blocking us. And that fluctuates, and it's cyclical, and it's supposed to be for our soul's correction. So we just have to trust that. So these 12 days have been leading us up to tomorrow's full moon, where that's the culmination of all of this, right? And so one of the things that's been going on leading up to the 10th day of the cycle were the 12 plagues of Egypt, 10 plagues of Egypt. And I think that the other day I thought they were like 7, and I was like, I don't know how many they are. There are, like David pointed out today, that there were 10 plagues of Egypt. And basically each plague was like a challenge that cleansed the soul correction in 10 different levels of consciousness. So on the tree of life, there are 10 different levels of consciousness that are the 10 governing forces of the universe. And those are the forces that we learn to balance and give and take. And they're either vices or virtues, depending on if we are in balance or not. So those 10 plagues symbolize the 12 levels of soul cleansing that the Israelites went through before they went into the desert for 40 years, when they were being released from Egypt and freed. So let's see, where am I? So we talked about the challenges leading up. They were specifically about, so basically the challenges for the 8 days leading up to this full moon and the Passover Seder supper has to do with the Garden of Eden. In the first 24 hours of Adam and Eve, like when they were just go along with like the poem of Genesis for now, and don't get like caught up on like, well, it's not officially, whatever. Just in the first 24 hours that Adam and Eve were created, that's when they were tempted by taking the apple, the fruit, before they could. And it's not that it was always going to be forbidden, it's just that they weren't allowed to have it yet until their consciousness was fully formed. Well, there are sages that comment on biblical, scripture, and there have been since like the Old Testament. So the commentary on this is that it is believed that the apple was actually sex, that Adam and Eve had sex before the 24-hour period was up, before their consciousness was fully developed, and so they weren't like transcendent over it, so it held power over them because it wasn't fully developed. the vessel had not been formed fully. The consciousness was not there fully. Therefore, it wasn't strong enough to hold all of that light, because sex is like one of the most powerful and purest energies of all. And so because it couldn't hold that light, it was corrupted. And so it can have a double-edged sword with it. Whereas had they waited like 24 hours, instead of having like a quick orgasm that comes and goes, we would have been in an orgasmic, ecstatic state, like fully through and through, mentally, physically, whatever, like all the time. But instead now, because they like sort of short-circuited before they were ready, it's like you only get to have like one kind of like enjoyment at a time. It's like orgasm or like food, good to my mouth, but like the rest of me is gonna have to like pay for this, right? So they took fulfillment before they had built the vessel. And the vessel comes from earning, and by practicing restriction and by delaying fulfillment until like the absolute like breaking point, the absolute culmination. So Adam and Eve preemptively sort of went for it, and that was the fall of man. And now we're tested and tempted, probably sexually, over this time period to try to correct that. But if while in our correcting this, we learn about the divine marriage and the divine union of like the masculine and feminine consciousness within us. And also that becomes reflected in the outer world. So this is correction that actually does help us call in a soulmate, which is funny because we were just like talking about that like yesterday in our Thirsty Thursday reading. It was like calling in your soulmate. Well, apparently like this period of time is particularly good for that, because it's correcting the relationship of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Okay, so before I get lost in all of those, maybe I can watch those classes again and then figure out if I have missed anything that I needed to say. But moving on to the second half of the notes for Passover. So on Passover night, each person receives their own version of prophecy, which is the ability to see the future in your actions today. So tonight, one of the powers that is open in the portal is for each person, me, you, everybody, to receive the power of prophecy. And what that will give us is the ability to see like how our actions are affecting us and like how our decisions will play out. We'll have more foresight, and like we can like troubleshoot and see ahead, like, okay, if I do this, like I can see how it's going to play out. So we'll have that ability. You will get clear on your vision and become more decisive. You will see an aspect of your life more clearly. We will be able to see things that are meant for our soul more clearly and become more closed off to things that are not good for us. After Passover, the energy leaves for 49 days, and we are in a period of accelerated spiritual growth. Okay, so if we connect with these energies tonight, then we will be blessed with the power of prophecy, where we can more clearly see like the cause and the effect of our life. We can see what is in resonance with us and what isn't. So you see how that helps us bring in a soulmate, is that we start attracting what is truly aligns with our soul, and we start repelling things that are not really in alignment with it at all. So things that aren't meant for us, they won't even it won't cross our path anymore. So we can actually set ourselves up like this and to have more clarity and to have more decisiveness by connecting with these energies tonight, by opening our conscious to it and talking about it and learning about it and thinking about it, and taking in like the traditional ritual foods. But don't worry if you haven't like gone out and prepared for this, it doesn't matter. You can still just connect to the energy, and anything's good. It's good to start from somewhere. And so we have all of this light, right? Light is coming into vessel on the full moon, the culmination of when the light is aligned with the vessel, and there's nothing blocking it. So there's like direct downloads. The thing is, in order for that light not to create chaos, we have to have had created a sufficient vessel through earning. Well, we haven't earned this light yet. This is all direct, pure light of the Creator, like full, pure fulfillment, like coming in unadulterated, unfiltered. So in order for us to earn this light and avoid chaos that comes with consequences and bad, like lasting effects, we have to go through a period of 49 days of challenges called the Omer, where the light is temporarily removed and you earn it back. So this is kind of metaphorical for a lot of things in life, if you think about it, especially when you think about like the sexual temptation part of it. It's like, if you slip up, you get a little bit of light now. Now we're taking it away, and maybe we'll talk again 49 days from now, depending on how you do. Okay, so the 49 days, during these 49 days, we will be challenged and tested in different ways to like poke our ego each of these days. So do your best to practice the pause, restrict, what a pleasure. Why is this in my movie? Right? And then choose consciously how you want to proactively meet the situation. You don't want to react. Anything that you do over those 49 days that is in the spirit of fear, lack, or doubt will cause chaos and destruction. If you act when you are in a state of fear, lack, or doubt, it will lead to chaos and destruction. If you're in a distressed state, I suggest do something that lifts your spirits, that like boosts your confidence, that gets you feeling good. Pray out loud to the Creator, to the light, to give you strength, certainty, courage, and self-control, and wisdom to make the right choices, and to give you strength not to be reactive during this time. When we pray out loud, it's very powerful. The portal of our mouth is very powerful. So pray out loud to help yourself. What else? Anything that will get you in a state of feeling whole. And we'll come back to this in a second because I want to finish this paragraph. I got ahead of myself. So, okay, after Passover, the energy leaves for 49 days, and we're in a period of accelerated spiritual growth, which means challenges. If we're in an accelerated period of spiritual growth, it means that something has to happen to like push you along to evolve, just like in Darwinism. It's like the survival of the fittest. There's going to be challenge that comes in order to push us. The pressure pushes us. The pressure built and condensed over however long, like aeons, and then suddenly culminated in one big bang that fertilized a big jizz spray of stardust into the universe, and we basically fecundicated. I can't remember that word, but we gestated into being, basically from one big bang, one big singular event, right? That built because of pressure, and it condensed, and it became physical from spiritual matter. So let's see. Yes, and that will be accelerated growth, which means challenges. This is happening to cleanse our previous negative actions and negativity, and correct our soul's tikkun at a quickened pace. So 1 day of correction equals 8 days. So this means that things might be 8 times harder than they usually are, 8 times more challenging. So this period is called the Omer. It's very challenging, but it builds the vessel to keep the light of the prophecy that we earned. It builds the vessel to keep the prophecy, and that's how we earn the light. So by going through this 49 days and meeting these challenges, practicing restriction, practicing choosing with your free will from a conscious state, then you get to the end of it and you will have earned the right to keep the ability to have the foresight, because you will be using it. You will be putting it to use. You won't be wasting it. You won't be just like, floating through life, like seeing, like getting these downloads and getting these insights, but not doing anything about it. So you have to put your money where your mouth is. The universe will test you. If I feel pain, fear, or lack during this time, and I make a reactive choice, it will lead to chaos and destruction. You're being reactive and creating chaos. Everything you touch in this state of fear, lack, or doubt becomes poisoned. Everything you touch in a state of fear, lack, or doubt becomes poisoned. So if you're in a state of fear, lack, or doubt, don't send the email. Don't make the phone call. Don't text at that moment. Wait until you feel full and whole and not in need of anything, and then take the action. Make the decision from that place too, and then take the action. We can only act in conscious free will from a state of wholeness. Pause and do what you need to do to feel whole. You don't want to come from a place of neediness or trying to fill a lack or void. If you are in a state of fear, you are not in a state of prophecy. If you are in a state of fear, you are not in a state of prophecy. This is one reason why you don't want to do a card reading for yourself if you're in a frantic state, because they're only going to reflect your franticness. You need to get into a state of wholeness, right? Because God doesn't go to where negativity is. It says that over and over again in the Bible, that the light of the sun is eternal, and you have to turn to face it. It is always there. It is unconditional. It is only us that are the waxing, waning moon, right? When you are in a state of wholeness and certainty, the light is flowing through you and guiding you. So you want to be in a state of wholeness and certainty. And certainty is not stubbornly like hanging on to your own truth. Certainty is being in surrender, doing your best to follow your guidance, but surrendering to the will of that which is out of your control, the will of that which is greater than you, which is guiding your cell. And understand that no matter what's playing out, even if it looks like it's going to shit, know that everything is playing out for your highest good, and that no matter what happens, that God can use it to turn it around to like lift you up and like glorify you later. So don't worry about anything, because think of it as a test. And if you stay eternal, if you stay consistent, if you stay keep affinity with the light, then you will attract more blessing, right? If you get into a state of fear, lack, and doubt, you will attract chaos. Let's see. Be whole. Be consistent, be unchanging, be eternal. The light needs nothing. Can you imagine not needing anything? You would be able to remain completely consistent and unchanging, because you would never feel the fear, lack, or doubt. Fear that what you have will be taken from you. Lack that makes you feel like you are not enough, or that you do not have enough. Or doubt that you will ever be given what you want, or ever will have fulfillment. You can choose how you feel. You can decide to pause when you are triggered and choose to feel whole instead of fear, lack, and doubt. Okay, so you can choose how you feel. And then, which brings me to my notes on one of the 4 glasses of wine. So one of the traditional ritual things that I have to do tonight is drink 4 glasses of wine. And the 4 glasses of wine represent the 4-fold promise of redemption. There's a 5th cup saved for the prophet Elijah. Dump someone out for the homies left behind, Elijah! Actually, he just like walked out, didn't he? He didn't even die. He just like ascended. That's why we're like dumping one out for Elijah. Because he transcended. So this helps us overcome 4 levels of negativity. The wine literally helps us correct and purify 4 forces of impurity. In the traditional history of it, they represent the 4 exiles when the slaves left, Jewish slaves left Egypt, when they left Babylon, when they left Greece, and then finally when the Mashiach comes and returns, they will be they will have their 4th and final. This also is to purify the 4 evil decrees of the Pharaoh, which were slavery, order of the murder of the male Hebrew children, and order of the male Hebrew, or the Hebrew boys to be drowned in the Nile, and then the order that the Jewish slaves had to gather their own straw and materials to make the mortar that they had to use to like build the pyramids. Like they were like, no more of that. We don't have to bring our own tools and supply the materials to build like the pyramids anymore. All the things that we're addicted to and we lust after. So all of these four forces of impurity represent the things that we are addicted to and that we lust after. If you see something that you like and that you lust after, don't feel that you need it, because this puts you in a state of fear, lack, or doubt, and it takes you out of affinity with the light. The light doesn't need anything. If you see something that you like, that you want, that you lust after, you have to tell yourself that you already have what you lust after. You already are one with it. You are one with everything in the universe and everyone. Therefore, you already have it, and there's no need to feel lack. Remember we talked about this? I like to play the game going through the grocery store like, this is all mine. I just don't need it yet. Let's see, you end up transforming by knowing that you don't need to transform. You're already whole and complete and perfect, always evolving, always giving, but perfect, or always growing, but perfect as you are. And then we talked about speak out loud to the Creator about everything that you want and need to feel in terms of your transformation. Like you want to feel whole, you don't want to need anything, you want to feel certain, you want to feel stronger, you want to feel more self-control, you want to be more aware and conscious. So pray out loud about what you want and what you need, because the mouth is very powerful during this time. Be careful over the next 49 days not to become reactive. And I'm getting close to like maxing out on my time for my export, but I just did want to say that like, I think about tonight, and I think that the significance of the crucifixion, and that this was Jesus's last supper, like his last Seder supper before the crucifixion, before they took him and crucified him. And he knew that was going to happen. Like that was not, and I wrote about this in my post today, and I will copy and paste it into this description below so you can read it. But he was literally sitting there at dinner like, this bread is my body and I'm grateful for it, and now I'm gonna break it, and it's for you. And he goes on to say like, this wine is the same, this is my blood, and it has been decided that it will be spilled out for you. And the fucking disciples are still like, when are we going to take over the government, Jesus? And he's like, I'm literally telling you that I'm about to be dead. I'm about to be broken and bled. And they don't get it. And the one person who did was Mary Magdalene. And I get so choked up about thinking about it. I guess because like, and a bunch of people messaged me that they got like really choked up reading it too. And I think they connected. And I've been working with Mary Magdalene and Jesus. And like Mary Magdalene had to run away from her family to like follow Jesus on tour. And they thought she was demonic. Like they thought that she was possessed by demons. And she wasn't at all. And he knew that. He saw that in her. In fact, she was overcoming and transcending the demons that we all carry inside of us. And she was the only one who understood the path of ascension that he was talking about. And so because of that, they were soulmates. And I would like to think that there was maybe a marriage between them. In Hebrew tradition and in Jewish culture, or at least in Hebrew culture and in Jewish Kabbalah, it's believed that a person can't achieve their full correction until they are one with the partner. And like they need that opposing energy of divine masculine, divine feminine in order to like fully like come into their full potential and correction. So, I mean, I don't think that it's that far-fetched to think that Jesus could have been married to Mary Magdalene or had something with her. But even if there wasn't, like, I think that they both felt like they were kindred spirits and someone was like on their level and could understand them. And I think that she knew what was about to happen. So I just think of them like doing the Eucharist for the last time, and all the time leading up to that, knowing that it was coming, like, and just having to like accept it and go with it because that was part of it. And I think that part of I'm not sure like what exactly the devil tempted Jesus with in the desert, but there was a moment where like I felt like I was like there, and I felt like in the desert like this morning, kind of today, and I just like had an image of like the devil being like, Jesus, you could just take over the government, and you could like get married, you could just stay married to Mary Magdalene, you guys could live happily ever after, you could take over the government, you could take over the empire, and you can like run things the way that you want, and everybody will be fed, and everybody will be better, and it'll all be good. You can be in power, you can be the one in charge, and then you can do things your way. And I'm sure that was very tempting to believe that the most powerful manifestation would come from just simply like a physical husk in this material world, when really he knew that in order to save more than just the people of his time, to be able to save all the people of all the times, to open up this portal of consciousness so that all of mankind could ascend to that level of consciousness of the ultimate is conscious liberation and freedom and unconditional love and overcoming the fear of death, because that it's all just an illusion, that it just is all eternal, it's all continuous. And so all of this was coming, they knew it, and he was surrendered to it, and he was just like, okay, they're gonna come and take me. But yeah, the most powerful thing was for Jesus to sacrifice himself. I mean, historically and politically, as a martyr, the story was so powerful and compelling that it's still around 2,000 years later. But like on a spiritual level, like the sacrifice had to be made. A perfect vessel had to be broken open to release the amount of light. It was like a nuclear level of like divinity coming through and being released into the world to recirculate into humanity. And that allowed the passageway for all of our soul correction and ascension. But yeah, that goes deeper and deeper and deeper into other territories. But yeah, so we're 30 minutes. I think that's enough. It's so overwhelming and so much to think about. But yeah, it's a lot of good stuff to think about. And so then, Jesus died after he was sacrificed, willingly sacrificed. But then he resurrected into a new form, and he appeared to Mary later. But I think it's to us, we're trying to die to the old stories that we used to tell ourselves about how it all had to be, how we were all, like failures and victims and whatever, and we weren't good enough, or we needed to change, or we were wrong, or, whatever. Those old stories about thinking that we had to be something else in order to be love, to have it, to give it, we're ready to let that go. And that old us that felt like it needed to constrict, to hide under a bushel basket, to be small, to be silent, to be not worthy of being at the party, no more. And when Jesus resurrected, all of those small egoic tendencies to want to have the ego battle, to, reach for that instant gratification, to numb it, to distract it, to avoid it, all of that we're leaving behind. Anything that would subjugate us, anything that would be enslaving us. Jesus was having that Passover supper, thinking about what was enslaving, what that meant to him. How was he overcoming slavery and these other subjugation forces that the Pharaoh represents, you know, the things that have control over us. We need to take our control back. We need to take our power back. We need to be liberated from the chains of addiction, from the chains of our negative behavioral patterns, from our negative thought patterns, from all of it. And so we can't do it on our own. We have to be participants in it. We can't like lay back and like be passive and just expect it to happen to us. But we need to incorporate the Creator. It's a co-creative process. It's a partnership. So yes, happy Easter, happy Passover, happy Good Friday, Shabbat Shalom. My timer's going off in the oven. I need to put my eggs in to roast them as part of the ritual food. And we're 35 minutes in, and I'm really hoping I can export this video, guys. Pray for me. Pray for me, people. I love y'all. Bye.